Should you cut, bulk, or try to do some combination of them both? This is the question we often get from people who fall into this, and I hate the word, but skinny fat demographic or body type. How we typically define that body type is you're somewhat under muscled and over fat, but don't really fall into that obese category. So you may be slightly overweight, you may be slightly underweight. Either way, you have a higher body fat percentage. You don't really have that muscle to support the frame or that aesthetic that you're looking for. And I know this very well because this was me. I was the kid in high school, cross country runner, about maybe 5'11", 6 feet tall, 150 pounds, soaking wet. I would eat anything under the sun and not be able to gain a single pound. Then I stopped moving as much as a lot of us do as they go into like college and in your 20s. I gained the 15, 20 pounds, but without having that muscle mass to support my frame, it kind of just made me soft. As I went into my early 30s and beyond, and where I'm at now, I leaned out. I started to gain some muscle mass and actually achieve that fit look that a lot of people are going for. What I learned through this whole process is what we'll talk about today, and really what we guide a lot of people through in our one on one coaching program, where we say, if you fall into this category, this is the plan for you. If you fall into that category, this is the plan for you. And here are some things you'd want to consider. So if you are in this like skinny fat category, what we would say is you have three options. You can either cut, you can bulk, or you can try to do a little bit of the bulk. So let's get into cutting because most people would cut first to get to a lean body fat percentage that they'd want to stay generally in that range. What we often recommend is in that 12 to 15% body fat range. As you get into that range, then you may want to go into a bulk to gain that mass. So you would cut first and then go into a bulk. A good cut is probably around 500, maybe 750 calories underneath that maintenance calorie point. And you can figure out your maintenance by just tracking how much you're eating. If you're not gaining weight, you're not losing weight, that's probably your maintenance calories. So eating around 500 to 700 calories under that is probably a good rule of thumb. As it relates to your workouts are really there to maintain muscle mass. You're not looking to grow during a cut. Some people can. Some people who are new training can grow muscle in a cut. But after that first maybe year or two of training, the likelihood of you gaining a lot of muscle in a cut is pretty slim. Most of our focus is going to be on losing fat and maintaining muscle mass. And you'd be surprised how little you need to do to maintain muscle mass. I think probably 4 to 5 sets per week per muscle group, you can maintain all the muscle mass that you have on your frame. Minimizing the amount of stress on your muscles while focusing most of your time on your nutrition is the cut. The person we often recommend this to is anyone who has a BMI of probably 25 or over. The reason I say that is as you look at maybe that ideal physique or what many people are searching for as that ideal physique, what we hear from clients very often is, I want to look like Ryan Reynolds in a superhero movie or like whoever Captain America is in a superhero movie or Zac Efron in Baywatch or Jason Statham in whatever movie he's shooting and karate chopping people in. As we look at these Hollywood actors, we can figure out what their height is, what their weight is. And the weird thing is all of them seem to be in this like 24 to 25, creating an average around 24.4, 24.5 BMI. So what we feel is if you are above that in the 25 and over BMI, let's cut down to maybe that low 24 range. And then what we'll get into in the bulk section, if you're under 24, we can maybe bulk up to get into that 24 range because that is that goal weight that we want to achieve. And then we just start working on your body fat percentage. That's why we say anyone who's above 25, let's cut down, let's lose the body fat, maintain as much muscle as we can to then go into a bulk or a recomp later. So the bulk side of things, and this is really for anyone who's under 24 BMI, maybe even in that 23 to 22 range. And with a good bulk, most of your focus is on a very slight caloric surplus. And by slight caloric surplus, we're saying 250 calories over your maintenance. That's like two bananas. It's not a lot of food. So it's not like you're just eating 13 pizzas every single day. One of the fears a lot of people have when I say the word bulk is they feel like they're just forcing themselves to eat. And that is really not a good strategy. Science is pretty clear on this. Your muscles can only grow so fast. So anything beyond that, you're not really gaining more muscle. You're just gaining more fat that you'll eventually want to lose. So if we know we can only gain, let's say 1 to 2 pounds of muscle each month, let's only gain 1 to 2 pounds. And no, not every single one of your calories is going to go directly into muscle, but we're also trying to minimize fat gain throughout this process. So that's why we say 250 calories over your maintenance is probably all you need. And a simple workout plan that you can be consistent with is the other thing. So a 3 day a week full body plan, a 4 day a week upper lower split. Those are all great strategies. Just being consistent and pushing to failure or close to failure on most of your sets is probably ideal. The third strategy, and this is for the people who are really concerned about cutting or bulking, is going to be a recon. And with this strategy, you're trying to go into, let's say, about a 250 calorie deficit, while again trying to push your strength with a 3 day full body split or maybe a 4 day upper lower split. That gives guidelines for the person who's maybe a lot slightly underweight, the person who's at that ideal weight, or someone who's slightly overweight. So you know how to get rid of that skinny fat physique. The other aspect of this is just durations. How long should you be in it? So what we often recommend is if you are in a cut and let's say you're at 25, 26 BMI, you don't have a ton of weight to lose. So going into a cut for 3 to 4 months tops is probably all you need. Not think of it as a long-term strategy. You go into a cut for, let's say, 3 to 4 months, and then going into a slight bulk for another 4 to 6 months could be a good strategy. And what we often recommend to our client to help them feel confident throughout the year is try to play with the seasons or kind of make it in tune with the seasons. I typically like to cut starting in January or February to make sure I'm lean for the summer months. As I get to that level of leanness that I'd want to be in those summer months, I start looking at July, August, September to start back that lean bulk. So I get a good 6 to 9 months of a lean bulk to gain as much muscle as I can while minimizing fat gain. And then again, going back into the colder months where I can have a little bit more fluff and not feel as self-conscious about it. And that brings up the last point is regardless of where you fall, whether you're underweight needing to gain muscle or you're slightly overweight needing to lose muscle, the right strategy is the one that makes you feel confident. If you're somebody who's maybe on the leaner side and you're really not sure you want to go into a bulk, you'd rather do a recomp strategy, perfect. That's great. It's great to lose the fat while you're gaining muscle. That's an amazing strategy as long as that's the strategy that helps you be confident. Because if you're confident, you're going to be more consistent. And that's the goal is all of them work if you're consistent with it. And that's how you get out of that like skinny fat feeling, skinny fat physique is choosing one, sticking with it, and then playing with those durations to make sure that you're continually making progress. And this is a lifetime thing. As you reach a certain level of physique, you're going to want to gain a little bit more mass. So you go into a lean bulk phase while minimizing fat gain. Then over time, you go into a little bit of a cut phase just to kind of things out. Maybe you have a vacation coming up or a wedding, or maybe it's just summer. Just constantly playing with these cut and bulk strategies to help you continually make progress. And it makes it pretty exciting. So if you have any questions, we actually have a program that's perfectly designed for this because it's the program that I use year round. I'll put a link in the show notes.